you where we left off on this. And again, I'm just going to throw these reminders out so they're on the video, that I added to our website this section down here, specific about assignments that have been assigned on or before the remote learning period. These do not obviously include examples and discussions, which we have had over remote learning. We had our presentation on arrays and we've discussed that. And what will eventually be counted in PowerSchool. So really for you guys in 30S, it's just the arrays programming problems. Then I'm going to go back and remind you guys that we started looking at this card game example together, including a download of all the card graphics. So that should be actually sitting on your desktop or wherever you saved it, would be the card graphics to go along with the program we've been making. Okay. Also, we realized that that GitHub page from our class help page would help to, so we wouldn't have to create a lot of the methods. We could reuse a lot of our methods. So we kind of realized by looking at the problem that some of it now is done. We've got little input boxes and we're working towards getting some of these fancier output boxes. Yesterday, I kind of sketched out what kind of all the methods we're using are, but this is a rough sketch. So I cleaned it up and made a nicer version of this, which even has a key that shows like some of the methods take parameters, some of the methods return stuff, some of them do not. So they're void methods with no parameters. Some of the methods, which are outlined in the blue, are methods we can keep reusing program to program, okay? Other methods outlined in that red are ones that are just specifically for this program, like shuffle and display. And that leads us to where our code is now. So here's our code, and just a quick review of this before we move on to the new code. So all of these methods up here are methods we got from copying and pasting from our class website. If we went to 30S help, we went to that help page, and we went down on the help page to this section here, that GitHub page for the arrays unit, and a bunch of methods that would be useful with working with arrays. Some of these methods we did in the example itself, but there's a whole list of them here. So what we ended up doing was copying and pasting those into our program. And then just specifically for this program, we did the following. We made a constant that displays the text to the user. We made another constant for the size of the deck of cards, plus one card, which included the back of the card. This would be useful for these arrays that we're going to create. Arrays which can store a whole bunch of information. That's what the arrays unit has shown. So we created an array of stuff for all the images that is going to be displayed. All the suits, so it remembers each suit for each card, each value, each type of card. And we use that deck size variable to set all the arrays to be the same size, which is technically what are called parallel arrays. Then we created a method, which we're going to work on today, to fill up all these arrays with the proper information. That's not done yet, okay? Then we created a loop to keep going and keep asking the user over and over again what they want to do. And I've actually changed the loop down here a little bit. You don't have to, it would still work the way we originally designed it. But basically, I'm just going to force the loop to keep going. So I'm going to intentionally make an endless loop. Then I'm going to get information from the user. And again, I'm going to reuse one of my methods called input. I'm not going to create that method. That method input was automatically copied and pasted in, and it automatically uses something called format area, which again, we saw yesterday, automatically takes care of the work for us. So format area and input is already done. Okay, so that's good. And then we're going to display that card. And we haven't done that method yet. So that's where we're going to start today. We're going to start by filling in the methods shuffle and display, these two methods here, which we haven't worked on yet. Okay, so that's where we're at. I'll do a slow sort of scroll here through, or actually I'm going to be able to sort of zoom back So right on the screen right now is that method called program. So if you're rewatching this video later and you're trying to get this code in there, this is a quick shot here where you could pause the video and look at that method called program. Okay, so now let's focus on this method called shuffle. Okay. It's going to put all the card information into the arrays. So let's start by making a constant. It's going to be used for all the cards, specifically all the card images. So every card we have is stored in a folder sitting on our desktop right now. This folder here called cards. It may not be on your desktop, but wherever you downloaded that folder of card graphics, and I'm going to open that folder just so we can see inside that folder are all those card graphics, right? So all those graphics of all those cards are sitting inside that folder. So I need to know where this folder is. Now I know it's on my desktop, but I need that path to get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a final string called path. And I need to know how to get there. Oops. How to get to that path. So the easiest way to do that is to just right click the folder, go to properties of that folder. On a Mac, it's a little different, but I don't think you guys are using a Mac. And then right here under location is that path to get there. And what's nice is you can actually even select that right off Windows and copy it. So then I can go right to my code and paste it. And luckily it changes the 1/ into 2/, which is right. That's what's supposed to happen. So it doesn't make a mistake and think it's like a / new line or something like that. I'm also going to put 2/ right at the very end of this thing. Okay. How about all these cards? They're all going to end in .gif. Each graphic ends in .gif, .gif, .gif. Or if they ended in .jpeg or .png or whatever. That's normally called final string. The file's extension. That's the fancy word. Okay? Extension of that file. Sometimes it's just called the end of it or the last name or the type of file, but I'm going to call it the extension .gif. So I know every single card I have is going to start with this, end with this. But what's going to be in between starting and ending is just a number. A number will help me pick that particular graphic. And the good news is that's actually going to be pretty easy to deal with. But that's going to be my path and that's going to be my extension. All right, now let's set the back of the card up. Let's set information up for the back of the card. So for example, images at spot 0, that will be the back of the card, equals that path plus a 0 plus the extension. So that will create, this path plus the 0 plus the .gif, right? This is the path. This is the number 0, and this is that extension. Put those three things together and store it at spot 0 of the images array. Now, let's do the suits at spot 0. Spot 0, the suits, I'm going to put the words back of the card. There is no suit for this one. And there's also, copy, paste, no value to the back of the card. Values will also be back of the card. Also, there's no type. All of these will be the back of the card, right? It's the image 0, suit 0, value 0, type 0. All of those will be the back of the card. Okay? Into the array at spot 0, I'm not going to worry about that stuff. It's only when the array gets to spot 1 that there's actually information there I need to worry about. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, looking at the way these cards are situated, I know that from spot 1 up to spot 13 is the first set of cards, or the first suit. So I'm going to use that information. Now that I've taken care of the back of the card in my shuffle method, I'm now going to fill arrays for the first suit, which happens to be spades. Spades is the first suit. So in order to do that, I'm going to run a for loop, FOR tab, but I'm not going to start at 0. I know with for loops, I can change the starting number. So I'm going to change the starting number to 1. I'm going to change the ending number to less than or equal to 13. So what I'm saying here is start at 1 and keep looping till you're less than or equal to 13. So in other words, loop from 1 to 13. That's the way that loop's going to be defined. I equals 0, I is less than or equal to 13. Then what am I going to do? Images at spot I equals the path plus I, that number, plus the extension. So think about it. What it's going to do is it's going to put I, which is going 1, 2, so it's going to put that path that was up here and .gif at the end of each of these. That's going to take care of the images. Now I'm going to temporarily make a little variable called card. Card is going to be the same as the number, so I. And then I'm going to create a method called set. Set this card at spot I and set it to spades, that word. And take the suits, take the values, and take the types with you over to this method. So this is a method I don't have. Set the card, which is a number, to this spot in the array, which is the index, to the word spades, and fill up the suits, the values, and the types. I don't need to worry about images. I've already taken care of that array. That array has already been taken care of. I'll deal with that method later, but that's now a method that we could, theoretically add here. That there's now this method called set that our method called shuffle calls. Our method shuffle is calling upon a method called set right here. And when it gets to set, it's going to need some information. It's, for example, going to need an integer, which is the card, another integer, which is the index number. It's going to need a string, just a simple string, which is the word in there, and then 3 arrays. So that's kind of what I'm showing here. This, and then another string array. So all of this information is passed over to this method called set. From shuffle, it passes over a whole bunch of stuff to this array, or pardon me, to this method called set. Okay, now why I did that is now what I've done right here, I can copy and paste for the second suit. And the second suit I'm going to deal with is not spades. It's this one here for the hearts, right? So I'm going to change this word to hearts, capitalize it. So my second suit hearts is going to also go that way. But one of the mistakes that's going to be made is the type of card here. This is a 14, but what type of card that 14 is really a 1. So what I'm going to do in the second loop is I'm going to subtract 13, because 14 minus 13 makes 1, which is going to work out better for what card that is. That's a card 1. Okay. So that's the second suit. So my shuffle method, loop through the first suit, loop through the second suit, and now I'm going to copy and paste this again and loop through the third suit. The third suit isn't going to be hearts. It's going to be this one, clubs. Okay, but wait a minute, let me go back to the second suit. It doesn't go from 1 to 13. Second suit went from 14 to 26. So I got to adjust my loop here. Go from 14 to 26. That's how you loop through the second suit. The third suit, clubs, goes from 27 to 39. So I got to adjust it. Go from 27 to 39. Also, when I do my subtraction here, it's not 13. It's 13 times 2. Okay? And now the fourth and final suit, or my fourth suit, which is diamonds. Okay. So I went from, and I didn't adjust this one yet. This one should be clubs. So this is clubs, and this one's diamonds. And for this one now, diamonds goes from 40 to 52. So I would adjust this to go from 40 to 52, and I would multiply it by 3. So I'm going to slow down now and show you all 4 of these loops right here. So the first loop goes from 1 to 13, and it's spades. The second loop goes from 14 to 26, and it's hearts. The next loop goes from 7 to 39, and it's clubs. And the last one goes from 40 to 52, and it's diamonds. Now you can kind of see that this is working, because 13 would then go right to 14, right? So it goes from 13 right to 14. It would go right from 26 to 27. It would go right from 39 to 40, and then it would end in 52, right? That's the very last card in the deck. Just like it started at card 1. So it goes from 1 to 52, but it splits it into spades, hearts, clubs, and diamonds. Also, what's interesting is when it gets to the first card right here, it says, well, that's a 1, a 2, a 3, all the way up to 13, which is going to make sense when we set it. 1 will be the ace, 13 will be the king. But when I get to the next set, I can't use the numbers 14. 14 isn't going to be an ace. So I just subtract 13. 14 minus 13 is 1 again. 26 minus 13 is 13 again, so it becomes a king. Then when I get to the next one, it's not 27, it's 26 minus, right? So 27 minus 26 gives me 1, or rather than figure that out in my head, I could just take 13 and multiply by 2. And then in the last one, I just take 13 and multiply by 3. So this will fill up each array with all the right values. As I said, this is a bit of a tricky problem. Now, though, I've got to deal with another new method called set. So I'm going to create that method set. Okay, let's go down and take a look at this method set now. So these parameters. Okay, set isn't going to be that long of a method, okay? But let me put my comment in here. What it's going to do is it's going to set specific card information into the relevant arrays. And it's really just going to set one card, one specific card. This is the card, right? It's the number, the card number to set. I is really the index. I'm actually going to rename that index. I is good for loops, but I think this is the spot in the arrays to set. Diamonds, suits, values, and types. String diamonds is also not a good word for this. This is which type of card it is. So I'm going to rename that. Actually, it's not type. My apologies. It's the suit. This is the specific suit to set to. Okay. Now, suits, values, and types, those are the same as they were up here. They are the arrays. So I'm going to copy and paste that. That store all the suits, all the types, and all the values. So there is my comment for the method called set now. Okay, so let's set this. And I know we're getting close to the end of the time here, so we may not have time to do the display method today, but we're getting close. Okay, so what is the set method going to do? So the first thing it's going to do is let's set the suits. Easy enough. Suits, this index equals suit. So I'm taking this suit and putting it into this array at this index. So I set the suits array information at the specific index. So that's what I just did, okay? But now what about all the values and all the types, okay? I'm going to check which card this is. So for example, if the card equals card 1, okay? If it's card 1, then you know what type this is? Types at this index is it's an ace. That's an ace. Also, the values at that index, an ace, again, depending on the card type of card game. Some card games, aces are worth 11, but let's just make that worth 1. Okay? So that's what type of card that was, card 1. Now I'm going to use that in an else if for card 11. Card 11 is the jack, and jacks are worth 10. And I can see that if I go back to that first deck. 11 is a jack, right? So that makes sense. So that's the word I'm going to use in what type of card that is. Now I can also use an else if for the card at spot 12. That's a queen. Make that worth 10. If it's a 13, okay, that's a king. Make that worth 10. Else, if it's any number that's not a 1 or an 11, a 12, or a 13, then it's 2 to 10. And that just means I can assign it that number and that value. So types at spot index equals, well, I'm just going to put nothing plus the card number. I'm going to do the exact same thing, the values there. It'll be a 2 and a 3 and a 4 all the way up to a 10. This is how I'm going to set the cards. I'm going to use this if statement. So here again, if you're following on the video, for setting the card, okay, you set the suits, you check which card it is, and using that if statement, you can set it in place there. I think we'll leave display for tomorrow for Friday's class. It won't take the whole class at all. We'll just get that done in about 15 minutes, and we'll have this arrays programming problem done, okay? So for those who are following live, maybe I went too quickly. For those following on video, maybe later, here again is the program method. You can pause it. Actually, let me zoom back here. So at this point in the video, you could pause this method called program and take a look at the code. If you're looking at the shuffle method, it's very hard for me to put it all on the screen at once. I'll put it in 2 parts. Here's the first part of the shuffle method. So you can do that up to the end of the first array. And here's the end of the shuffle method with the other 3 array loops. Here is the display method we'll do tomorrow. Here's the set method, including its comment, up to the start of the if statement. And then here's the rest of the set method and the rest of the if statement. All right, everybody. I'm going to stop the video now.